Good evening, and welcome along to the big show here on NVTV. Coming up on the show this evening, we'll be talking magic with a top magician, Joel M. Here's a clip of him in action.
Please don't take your eyes off this red silk. Why? Well, because I asked you politely. And secondly, you'll miss the chance to see it turning into money. Wait. It's a get-rich-quick scheme. Get in on it.
We'll also be chatting to author Paul Waters about his new book, Black Watertown. We'll have some music from the archives from Mirenda Rosenberg, and we'll be finding out why this bottle of tomato ketchup is currently floating in space. There it is, floating away. More on that a little bit later on. But starting things off, we're going to be talking about dating and post-pandemic dating with Countdown star Susie Dent. Here she is. So we're talking about post-pandemic dating now, and the language and lingo associated with the new age of dating. To tell us more about this, we've been joined on the line by Countdown's Susie Dent. Susie, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. How are you, Robin?
Very well, thank you. So tell me about this new research then, carried out by Plenty of Fish. Has this made dating more difficult then?
Yes, I think it has. And as always, language has reflected this. You know, language is an incredibly sort of eloquent, really, at, revealing our preoccupations and the things that we have been really grappling with, I suppose, for a very long time. And of course, the pandemic has made that so much stronger, and that sort of impetus so much stronger. So some of the terms on the list are actually very playful. They're very mischievous, but they really do reveal what is happening in the dating scene. So we have hesitating, for example, and hesitating is feeling really unsure about dating, really uncertain as to whether you want to go for, a big commitment or just more casual relationships, I suppose, because everything seems so up in the air at the moment. And that is very much reflected in our attitude towards relationships. Then you have sort of existing words rather, being given new senses. So a lot of us were debating the meaning of staycationing, for example, during, the last couple of years. But actually in this context, it means finding a romantic connection with someone who's actually been in your life for a very long time. And, we all fell back very much, didn't we, on our close friends, thank goodness, and our family. They were the people that we reached out to during the pandemic and that we were regularly in touch with. And I think that's one really positive thing that's come out of this research, is that actually some people, in fact, a lot of people, 23% of singles who responded, found love closer to home.
What about crumbling under peers pressure? I like that one.
Peers pressure, again, very mischievous, very playful, but a serious message behind it, really. I think peers pressure is walking out on your date because they didn't agree with your opinion. Apparently very common. 50% of people knew somebody who had done this or actually had done it themselves. And for me, I think that's pretty much a reflection of how stressed everyone's feeling. Cortisol levels are incredibly high at the moment because we've been through such a tough time and the future seems so uncertain. And I think that's coming out in so many different ways, including this one, which, yes, playfully and mischievously called peers pressure.
So what else have we learned from the research then? I would imagine for people going on dates now, one of the big things they will want to know is the other person double vaccinated or not?
Yes, serious point. Considering whether somebody has been vaccinated or not, that might be really important for somebody who is vulnerable themselves, who live with vulnerable people, etc. So that too might be a clear criterion on the list, which means that our sort of prerequisites, if you like, or the things that we're looking for have really fundamentally changed over the course of the pandemic.
Now, people are also falling in love these days due to the other person's profession, aren't they?
Apparently so. Yes, perhaps, there's always been the old jokes about uniforms and things, hasn't there? But yes, the Greel deal, this has been called, thanks to Jack Grealish, who stole the hearts of the nations during the Euros. And apparently a quarter of all singles know how it feels to be considered attractive simply because of their chosen career path.
Now, did you ever get any offers from people on Countdown?
I was back in the day when I was working with Richard and Carol. I did get a proposal from a member of the audience, and who is now, I have to say, very happily married and made us all laugh. But we don't actually now, very sadly, again, you know, this is how the pandemic has changed things. We actually don't have a physical audience at the moment for the regular countdown. But I really, really hope that will come back. Not for marriage proposals, clearly, but just because it will be lovely to have people with us in studio.
So Countdown's been running for so many years on TV, still going strong today. Why do you think the show was so successful?
I think that's a really easy answer, and that is simply the format. You know, the format is just so... It's just so compelling. And even with a comedy show, you know, A Such a 10 Cats Does Countdown, you will find the audience members coming in and laughing their heads off while actually really trying to crack the numbers round or come up with the longest word. You can't help but play along. So it is very much about the game. It's very simple. You don't really have to explain the rules. You know, it's timed. What's not to love, really?
So is it the ideal job then? Is it so much fun going to work every day?
Yeah, I really love it. You know, I people sort of say, do you not get bored? And the honest answer is I genuinely don't. And we record 5 shows a day, actually. So it's quite, you know, quite a lot of you know, just that we get through, I suppose. But every single time the clock starts ticking down and the music starts blaring out across the studio, I feel that adrenaline rush and the sort of slight panic that I've now got to come up with a really long word in 30 seconds. So honest answer, I never get bored. And also, you know, you're talking to the contestants. I have a lovely guest sitting next to me. So I definitely have the best seat in the house.
Well, Susie, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, my next guest has around 15.5 million followers on his social media. He's also got this brand new book out as well called Make Your Own Magic. It's a magician, Joel M. How are you?
Hi, I'm terrific. Thank you for asking.
Tell us about your career so far, because for a while there wasn't too many people doing magic, and then suddenly you come along and it explodes on social media. As I said, over 15 million people are following you. That's crazy numbers.
It is crazy, and I try not to think about it because you can't wrap your head around it really. And it's still just fun to me, honestly, and I've done it for so many years not putting it online that it just felt like the natural step. Really, it happened by accident because I only started posting really during the pandemic because I had so much free time. You know, suddenly all these live shows went away and I thought, well, here, better do something. So I started posting online and it just slowly, bit by bit, grew and grew and grew, and then you wake up and you have this audience and I'm grateful for it, you know. It's fun because it's what I wanted to do since I was a kid. I just didn't expect to be doing it on social media because that wasn't a thing when I was a kid. So where did the love for magic start then? I was really young, 5 or 6 years old, and my grandfather, my papa, loved magic but never performed, so we were, suppose summertime, summer holiday, we were in America, and there's a shop which is now shut down, which is really sad, but in downtown Disney called Magic Masters. The pair of us went in. He was a big fan of Paul Daniels, so caught his eye, went in, and there was a magician doing magic tricks and then selling the secret. And I must have been interested and asked for some tricks to be bought because I remember going home with 2 magic tricks. And that was it, down the rabbit hole. It was so much of my life that I remember when I was a kid, I used to think, what do people do in their spare time if they're not doing this magic thing? I just couldn't understand what people filled their days with. So it's been my whole life and I've loved it. I love it more now than I did back then, which is really fun. And of course, you're inventing tricks all the time. I saw on your Instagram earlier on today, the Coke can trick, the fastest trick in magic, I believe. It's a pretty fast trick, got to tell you. I mean, I haven't seen one faster. The great thing is, I mean, we stand on the shoulders of giants in the magic world, and there's all these amazing people who have come before, and now it's just learning to take those tricks, modernise them, and you got to make them fast because we're performing to a different sort of short attention span audience. So it's fun for me to be able to do stuff that I watched growing up, make it my own, and then have people that actually want to see it. Yeah. Okay, well, we have a clip of the fastest trick in magic. Here it comes.
Can of Coke, but with nothing inside and no ring pull tab, as you can see. Why? Well, so I can show you the world's fastest magic trick. Oh, sorry. Gotta lick your fingers, and then it works. Impressive.
So there we go, amazing.
Thank you.
The fastest magic trick around. It really is. So who would your magic heroes be then?
I had a whole bunch, and growing up I went through different phases, and my poor family had to put up with some weird phases because I went from kind of Chris Angel, gothic, emo magic, where I wore like a diamond encrusted belt. I had that phase, he was a big hero. There was David Blaine down in with the big one for me still would be Darren Brown. Love that guy. And I think he's less of a magician, probably more of a philosopher, but because of that, he's a great storyteller, and that's what I love about it. So he's probably number one. I've lots of amazing friends who I really look up to in magic who are behind the scenes, and they're amazing creators. They don't necessarily perform. So, I mean, some of my favourite magicians are people you'd never hear of, and they're kind of magicians, and they keep the best secrets. So I love learning from those people, but then taking inspiration from the showmanship of some of the greats. Like Paul Daniels as well, massive fan of him too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We did have Debbie on the show a couple of years back.
No way.
She was lovely, so she was.
Oh, she's meant to be lovely.
She really is lovely. So you've got a big show coming up in the Ulster Hall, haven't you?
I have. I'm excited for it. It feels like it's really coming up quickly now at this point, but it's just in time for Christmas, 18th of December, and it's going to be fun. I mean, it's my first big show back since the lockdown, and that's just really exciting. You know, it's really exciting, and I've got a full 2 years really to have worked on all this new stuff, so even people who have seen me before, it'll be a full new show, and those who haven't seen me, hopefully it lives up to what they have seen online and proves that I actually can do the stuff in person, not just on a camera.
So where would you like to take this then? I mean, there must be a UK tour in the pipeline, maybe take this to America, something like that? That's
the plan, yeah. I mean, for me, it's all happening so fast that I'm just taking it as it comes and trying just to come to terms with it all. But I mean, I've always wanted to perform live. I mean, the social media stuff has only just been to leverage live shows. I love being on a stage, so I do hope moving forward we'll do a lot more of that. And then, to be honest, I mean, I'm very, very lucky in that I really do love the work. And if I can just keep doing that and putting out stuff that people enjoy, that's the dream, really. So I'm really enjoying what's happening right now.
All right. Tell us about the book, because that's out in time for Christmas as well.
That
Make
is.
your own magic. Discover the secret tricks of a TikTok magician. So, do you give away many tricks in this book?
You know, there are a bunch of tricks in there that I think any beginner could pick up and should learn. Everyone should know one magic trick, whether it's just for around the dinner table or out and about. Everyone should know one. I think there's 6 or 7 in there that are really good ones. I didn't want to write a full book just full of tricks, and that would be it, because there are other books that have already done that really well. I've picked ones that I think are actually good. You see a lot of these magic books and they teach stuff you'd never really do. But this stuff is stuff that it will blow people's minds, but also it's easy to do and easy to learn. Having said that, the book is mainly full of stories, because as a magician over the years, some bizarre stuff has happened, and these weird circumstances. I mean, my entire show is audience interactive. So things go wrong and embarrassing moments, and I've documented that and finally put it in the book, because, you know, if I didn't write about it, then it would just be an embarrassing memory and nothing good would come of it. So thankfully now readers can enjoy my pain and laugh at it, and I can make it worthwhile. And are magicians meant to reveal the secrets? Because I remember somewhere you had this kind of magic circle code thing going on. It's an interesting thing, because it's a weird double standard, which I've never understood, which is you can't tell anyone how the secret's done unless you pay me for it, which I always thought was weird. And the other thing is, how do you think magicians learn in the first place? Like, I had to learn from a book. Exactly. And now there's a lot of great stuff online, and of course you pay for the information, but if somebody really wanted, they can go down to the local library and they can pick up a magic book. I mean, of course you have to be looking for it. I think the point of that never reveal your secrets is, say I do a magic trick for you right now. Yeah. The worst thing I can do is say, right, and look, and this is how it's done. I think that's the core message. It's just kind of got, you know, it's diluted into never reveal the secret. Of course, how would you pass magic along? So my hope is that there's somebody who's 5 or 6 now who sees my stuff and then gets into magic, and hopefully that can be a Kickstarter for them. Okay, I see a deck of cards on the table there. Shall we do a trick then? Yeah, why not? I'd be ashamed to have a magician in and not do one trick, you know, so we'll give it a go. I mean, the thing is people are so often, they see me online, people do wonder, well, can you do it in real life? So we're about to find out. Okay. I know you saw me do this maybe at an event last week in person, so it's hopefully not too much of a shock. But with freezing cold hands in the middle of winter in Northern Ireland, let's see if I can make the sleight of hand work, shall we? We'll see if we can. Do you like that? That's impressive. Practice that just for you. Just for you. Can I grab the table closer to me? Is that okay? Yes, we'll do this. Now, here's what we'll do. Before we start this, I'm going to have you actually look, and I suppose I'll show the camera here as well, that this is what we would call in the business a normal deck of cards. I don't know what a non-normal deck looks like, but just for the sake of the people watching, we got 52 cards, and you can see each card is different. Your job is to pick one, and it doesn't matter if I see the card. So we'll do it kind of socially distanced, is the way I like to say it. I'll deal the cards down like this. If you tell me to stop, in fact, they might fall off the box. So we'll do it like this. Tell me to stop wherever you like. Stop. You're right here. You sure? Right there. That's the one. See this. Ooh. It's a bad choice of card.
Really?
Do you know what? I'll give you more choice. Out of the pile left.
Yes.
It's not really. I don't know what that would even mean. If you reach and actually just pick one out for yourself, anyone at all. That's
that one.
Perfect one. I can see the card. It's okay. You can show me which one have we got. Perfect. The reason I didn't want you picking that last one is I wanted a lot of room to write on the card, like it would have been King of Diamonds. Bad card. So if you take this, if you sign it on the face. Yeah. Not your face. The face of the card though. If you want, knock yourself out. Sign that, that's perfect. And if you blow on it and then stick your bank details on it as well. You know what, you'd be surprised. Some people go for it, you get them late enough in the day. I will take this and I'll take the pen off you too, sir. Thank you. So we now know that there's only one card on planet Earth that looks exactly like this. And who knows, I might be able to sell it on eBay. That would be good. I'll do this slowly. I'll take this, I'll fold it in half. This is damaging cards, and my inner child who used to get a deck of cards for Christmas is crying at this, but here we go. We'll pop this inside the box. Can you see it going inside?
How many decks do you go through?
More than smokers do cigarettes. It's pretty bad. Pop that in your pocket for a little minute, hold on to your card. No, I finally managed to get a sponsorship for cards so I don't have to pay fortunes for them, but I mean, I've been through so many packs of cards. It's probably terrible for the environment. Actually, I do recycle them. Go ahead and say stop for me again, wherever you like.
Stop.
Right here? Do you want these to fall?
Yeah, let them fall, yeah.
This time, I'll sign a card. We'll go Jack of Clubs. This is actually a bad one, but we'll just go for it. Mine's not as important. We'll sign it. Just like this. And then we're going to get a good look into the camera so you can see this. Perfect. We'll give you a good look at this. You can see the signature. You have the box inside your pocket.
I do, yes.
I'm going to place this. And do you know what? I'll fold this one too as well. So we have it in half, into quarters. Let's see if we can get this to work. So I'm going to pop this. Do you know what? Let's try this. Put this inside your hand and squeeze tight on it. Tight, 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 tight. This might not work. Okay. I'll try my best. Really squeeze it. Squeeze my card. I want you to imagine in your head that the ink starts to change on the card and starts to look more like yours. Okay. And inside the box, that card starts to look a little bit more like mine. Okay. Okay, you can stop. I like the way you shake it as well without me even asking, just the drama. I'll not touch anything. Okay. Have a look at the card inside your hand.
Look at that.
What a surprise. I'll pretend I've never seen that before and be amazed myself. Oh my goodness, how did that happen?
I am impressed.
Have a look in your pocket.
I am impressed.
I'm glad you are, because otherwise I wouldn't have done my job. And have we got...
Look at that.
Look at that.
Look at that. Now that is impressive.
You like that one?
That is impressive.
That one's not in the book, sadly. You gotta come ask me for that one in person.
If I could do that, I'd be impressing people at Christmas parties all around the place.
I believe you're doing that already. It's all good. Just wear that jacket. You'll be top of the town.
That is brilliant. So
thank you, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the book is out now.
The book is out now.
Make your own magic. Get it for Christmas. And the Ulster Hall gig is when?
18th of December. Yeah. All right. Get your tickets fast because they are actually selling out. So make sure you get your seat.
Would imagine so. Thank you so much for coming in. Good to see you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks,
Pleasure.
Joe. Right, let's have some live music from the archives now, and a special set that we recorded at the Millennium Forum up in Derry a couple of years back. Here's Mirenda Rosenberg.
I laid down my thought for you, baby, but you left it laying there. And even my kisses seems they've lost their worth. And when I pull away from you, baby, you pull me back, it hurts. I gotta go. Ooh, I gotta go. Ooh, I gotta go. Ooh, I can't stay. this baby bird, but I've gotta leave. I can't be stuck loving you, no, not on my own. You warm in my body, but you're leaving me cold. I am more than flesh and bone. I'm a whole woman walking out your door. I gotta go. I must leave this place. Hey, hey, I gotta go. I can't stay here.
And we'll have some more music from Mirenda Rosenberg a little bit later on. Now let's talk space now. And as I said at the top of the show, let's find out why a bottle of tomato ketchup is currently floating in space. Have a look at this. We're going to find out about ketchup made with tomatoes grown on Martian soil conditions. British space scientist and space communicator Dr Maggie Aderin-Pocock joins us now on the line to tell us about this secret scientific endeavour called Project Red. So thank you for joining us. Tell us about the research then behind this Heinz Mars Edition ketchup then.
So what they did is they took 3.5 tons of the Martian regolith and put it in what they called the red house, and then set up conditions with LED lights and things like that to try and grow these tomato plants. And it's proved to be very successful. And these tomatoes have a similar texture, sort of taste, sweet, all the key criteria that we need for ketchup.
So when we try this, we're not going to know any different then?
You see, from what I've heard, yes. I'm very much looking forward to trying it myself. But from the people who have tasted it, they said they can tell no difference, which is really a sort of quite an achievement, considering how alien the soil is. And as we sort of look at some of the challenges facing Earth, it looks as if the next sort of human colony may be on somewhere like Mars. And so they teamed up with the Aldrin Institute, part of the Florida Institute of Technology, and set up this experiment. But I think it's twofold. The results are going to be very interesting in terms of, can we grow crops on Mars? But also it answers some of the challenges we face today. For instance, with climate change and things like that happening, more and more of the Earth is becoming harder to sort of cultivate. And with this project, we're finding that in a very alien sort of environment, we can actually grow crops. So it helps us here on Earth today and helps feeding the people of Earth today.
So after this is the future of how we're going to grow our food. Is that going to change then?
I think we're going to see that anyway. So teaming up with the Aldrin Institute, they're issuing 3 papers to talk about what they've done. So for instance, with the Martian regolith, this sort of, we call it regolith because it has no organic material in it. So they must have adapted it to enable plants to it. So this sort of technology could be used maybe in deserts, in sort of faraway places. So it is important. And yes, so I'm really looking forward to the papers coming out. And the papers coming out means we share the results with the whole world, and so scientists can replicate that and do something similar elsewhere.
So I suppose the big question we all want to know now is, when are we going to get to see this ketchup?
So actually a bottle was sent into space, but it's only a very limited edition run, because even sort of 3.5 tons of sort of a Martian regolith, that produces a certain number of tomatoes. So there's a few bottles out there. They're all in the States at the moment, but I think they might be heading our way later. But yes, a few and far between, I'm afraid.
The whole space thing is really taking off. And of course, earlier this year, we saw William Shatner heading into space. That was pretty big, wasn't it?
Ah, that was a really big moment for me. One of the reasons I became a space scientist was because of the clangers and because I started then watching Star Trek. And also William Shatner at 90, sort of enjoying that wonderful experience. It gives a hope for us all, I think. All my life, I've dreamed of getting out into space. And so if Shatner can do it at 90, I think there's still hope for me yet.
So is there hope for people like us during our lifetime? Could we achieve this? Could we go into space?
Well, it's quite interesting because NASA say the first person to walk on Mars is alive today. So I think people going to sort of other people going to Mars, I think will happen in the next sort of 30, I'd say 20, 30 years. But I think people going into space, into sort of a low Earth orbit and things like that, I think that's taking off. We've had first few space tourists, and at the moment it's still very expensive. But if you look at sort of aeroplanes and sort of the early planes and the early flights, they were incredibly expensive. And mobile phones, computers, they've all gone through this sort of transformation where there is a demand, and so people start meeting that demand. It starts off very expensive, but then sort of tapers down as the monopolies are broken and more people can get access to it. So I'm very hopeful that that's what's going to happen here.
Well, you've made my day by saying that. It's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Now, author Paul Waters has just released a new book called Black Watertown. I caught up with Paul earlier this week to find out about the book and about the amazing career that he's had as a journalist and producer as well. Here's Paul Waters. So let's find out about Paul Waters' new crime novel, Black Watertown, because Paul joins us now on the line. Paul, how are you, sir?
I'm very well. Lovely to be here. Thank you.
So tell us about the new book then. It takes us back to Ireland in the 1950s, doesn't it?
Yeah, so it's long before people often think about stories in Northern Ireland anyway, in particular. So it's on the border in the 50s. It's a police sergeant who blots his copybook in a kind of a funny way, and while policing a procession, and he gets banished to the small town, or the village really, of Black Watertown, not far from the border, on the river Blackwater. And while he's there for a week, and it all kicks off in unexpected ways. He's been banished there to keep him out of the way, out of trouble. But a brother that no one yet knows they're related has died mysteriously, and he's convinced that he's been murdered. And he suspects that the killer could be a colleague inside the police, inside the RUC, as it was then. And so over the course of a week in Black Watertown, he uncovers dark family secrets, falls in love, accidentally starts a war, and is hailed a hero and branded a traitor. And he doesn't know who to trust, and it seems like betrayal is maybe the only way to survive in this small, close community. If you're thinking about, I don't remember any wars from back then, obviously before our time. This is set in the time of the IRA insurgency. There were various groups, but mainly them, who had what they called back then a border campaign, which went on for a number of years in the 1950s and kind of fizzled out because it didn't have a big popular support. But I suppose sometimes people look back and think everything was wonderful back in the day before the Troubles. Whereas, in fact, obviously it wasn't as bad, but there were peaceful times and there were opportunities, and there was trouble in the 50s, and then the peace that follows it, or the calm. You could argue that that opportunity was squandered, and then, you know, events carried us on to the Troubles that we all know about. And I suppose there's a little bit of an echo with today, whereby we're in more peaceful times, but, you know, let's not squander the opportunity of the peace that we have now and let it be lost. Although this story is set firmly in the 50s, and it's partly got that political context, although it's more, I suppose, an action thriller. It's all fiction. Most people are made up. The names have been changed to protect the guilty because it's all material.
Now, I'd imagine there's lots of things that you can draw upon from your journalistic career, because you were a journalist here during the Troubles, weren't you?
I was, and I have to say, not a very prominent one. I'd be more likely to be, and finally, at the end of the news. But because trouble happens unexpectedly, and it's harder to plan according to experience and hierarchy in the newsroom. I would be involved in various things, and that came up without any notice. And it was a fascinating and very challenging time for everyone, of course. And it's funny sometimes working in other places around the world, because I worked for other parts of the BBC in America and Africa and parts of Europe. And when you see the challenges that face other people, and it kind of puts our own into perspective. And also sometimes they're not, it's like you think that everyone will have heard of us, and they haven't in some cases. And you think, maybe we need to make a bit more effort and sort ourselves out.
Now, one of the big news stories that we'll always remember during our lifetime is the tragic 9/11 attacks. You were there, you were on the ground producing the news coverage, weren't you?
I was actually doing a World Service program, and it had been quite a challenging thing. I was trying to organize a story to do with chess, actually, and I had to get permission from somebody in one continent to speak to somebody in another continent about something happening on a third continent, and trying to get them all to work with time zones and then for the deadline. And anyway, I managed it. And this was a program that went for an hour. It was called News Hour, and then was mainly repeated for a second hour. And so just to the end, coming up towards the end of the first hour, got this story on air, and I was pleased because it had been a lot of work. And we're just looking at the TV, and we see this plane, hit the building. The first plane hit, and there'd been another plane had hit a building in the United States not that long beforehand, a light plane, much, much smaller. And we just assumed, it's something along those lines. And then we quickly became aware that it wasn't. And then the second one hit. So the next hour of the program lasted for 13 hours. And we were obviously racing to get people on from the United States before all the phone lines were cut, which indeed did happen. And I remember people just gawping, communication stopped inside the building as well. Yeah. Everyone was just watching the television. And I was out shouting at them, like, stop watching TV, get me people for the program. We need to, what's going on. We're not supposed to be just gawping and spectating. Yeah. We have to act. And not least because, we're on air. It's a live program. People, millions of people around the world are listening to us, and we have to tell them something. So, that was a long day.
Now tell me about smuggling a satellite dish into Cuba.
Yeah. Well, that was great fun. That was one of the fun things. We'd been, I'd wanted to do programs from Cuba for a long time. I was working for 5 Live then, BBC Radio 5 Live. And we hadn't, and rather than just reports, programs lasting 4 hours long, that sort of thing. And that hadn't been done before. So when we did it, it was the first since the revolution. In fact, it was the first at all before the revolution too. The only problem was dealing with the Cuban authorities. They were friendly, but we never quite got permission to do what we needed to do, because they said, we have facilities here. And you often hear that sort of thing. You can't believe it. You have to rely on yourself. So I thought, this isn't going to work unless we have our own independent communication through a satellite dish. So we thought, we have to get this in, but we haven't got permission. So I kind of had lots of kind of identical looking bags with innocuous things in it. So when we went through, they started checking us. They checked the first, checked the second, checked the third, and then thought, okay, that'll do. So it was in the fourth one as planned. So that meant when we got there, we were able to set up, and in fact, we broadcast a load of programs from the roof of the hotel in Old Havana, where Ernest Hemingway wrote The Old Man and the Sea. And that was a wonderful job. Broadcasting in the evenings, getting the band to play, telling them, right, stop playing. But we managed to speak to various dissidents and musicians and scientists, all sorts of very good stuff. And of course, the studios we'd been promised by the Cuban authorities never materialized. It turned out they didn't work. And then they saw we were broadcasting and they thought, all right, we'll just, you know, they could have stopped us and they chose not to. I have to say, when we were dealing with them, it's one of the places where I never had to bribe anyone to get something done that was completely normal. So, but, you know, it's pretty nice finishing work in Havana and saying, hey, let's go for some rum.
So you've had this amazing career. The book Blackwater Town is out now. What's next for you?
Well, writing more books. Yeah. I hope writing the sequels. So one of the things they don't mention when you write a book, you have to write it, and that's hard, and I respect anyone who's done that. And then you have to get it published. Yeah, that's another big challenge. And after that, you think, well, I'll just sit back now and, you know, revel in it. But of course, you have to encourage shops to stock it. And luckily, it's in all the best shops in Northern Ireland and around the place. So when I was in Belfast recently and in Carrickfergus, I was at No Alibi's, Secret Bookshelf, and Bridge Books in Dromore, and all the ones. And, you know, it's fabulous when you see your book in a shop like that. And the other thing is, it's never been easier to get a book published because of self-publishing. So, you know, millions are published, but it's never been harder to be noticed, to let people know that it exists. So that's the challenge to, you know, thanks to you, let people know that it's there and they can pick it up and, you know, have a look at it and think, yeah, that looks okay. I might read it. Frederick Forsyth likes it. Maybe I'll give it a go. So, well, you know, write more. Although, like, I guess most authors around the world, I'm still doing other work. So still making radio programs and still interviewing people about stuff, and then try and find the time to write the sequel and the one after that, and other stories completely separate from Jolly Mackin in Blackwater Town. But it feels like a, you know, fabulous good luck to be able to do it and to have people read it.
Well, here in Northern Ireland, we're building up a pretty good reputation of really good crime writers coming from the country, aren't we? It's
just amazing. There's so many and so many good ones, and it's a really friendly community. Sometimes there's this saying, it's not enough that you succeed, but that your friends must fail miserably. But it's not like that at all. It's really supportive. The latest thing I read, I finished this morning, was Kelly Crichton's book, The Sleeping Season, yes. Which was really good. And I've had great support from, you know, Brian McGilloway and Gerard Brennan and other writers. I mean, there are loads of them, men and women. I don't know how people choose what to read next or what to buy for Christmas or what to get people for Christmas, but there are so many good local writers, and some of them have had huge international success, like Adrian McKinty or Steve Kavanagh. And I suppose if people weren't going to get something, try and make at least one of the books to get something by a local writer, because you're not doing it out of kindness, but because there's really good stuff coming out, and just really enjoyable to read. I mean, I've got stacks and stacks. It's kind of, I should never be let out in Belfast near a bookshop, because you know, there's just so much good stuff there. I don't know. I mean, James Murphy, the last time I was in No Alibi's, I picked up 3 by him. Yeah. And, you know, it's Simon Maltman. He's always coming out with something new, you know, really imaginative. And, you know, I suppose the thing I have to resist is I have to work, and I should really be writing. But what I really want to do is curl up in a chair and read. So Blackwater Town is available now from all good bookshops, and it's available on your website as well, isn't it? Yeah, you can find out about me or the book, the imaginatively named www.paulwatersauthor.com. It's in bookshops, but if you can buy it from your local bookshop, then that's the best thing. And if you can use your £100 that we're all getting, you know, go to your local bookshop and spend it. Well, Paul, it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. Thank you very much indeed, Robin.
Now, finishing off the big show this week, we're going to have some more live music from the Millennium Forum in Derry from the archives. Here's Mirenda Rosenberg. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Shadows, secrets behind your red door. Skeletons are your host behind your red door. They can only scare you when they're in the dark. They've no power when you let them out. If you need a load bearer, don't forget about me. Na 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 na. Don't forget about me. Carrying your problems in a sack on your back. All your scars, your hurts in a sack on your back. They can only hurt you if you keep them secret. Let me share the burden. Let me bear witness. If you need a load bearer, don't forget about me. Na 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 na. Don't forget about me.